Let's see how it accelerates. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing a Mercedes G550 G Wagon. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington for giving me some time with this G Wagon. Check out the inventory in the description down below. This one's available for sale. They also have a G63 as well if you want a little bit more power and a little bit of just a crazier experience overall. But before we get into the video, I do want to mention the cool thing about this particular Mercedes dealership is they are a one-price store. They make your buying experience super simple, super easy. A lot of other Mercedes stores, well, let's just say they put you in a rodeo basically. So Mercedes-Benz of Farmington's the one to go to if you want an easy buying experience. And then on a side note, like always, if you want to save time, money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide. Let's get into the video. So under the hood of the G550, we have a twin-turbo 4-liter V8 that goes through a 9-speed automatic transmission. Power outputs are 416 horsepower and then 450 pound-feet of torque. So this is going to be a pretty fun day. Now let's go over the front end of the G550. First off, it's green. What else do I have to say? This is one of the coolest colors I've ever seen on a G-Wagon. We have our Mercedes logo there, front and center. And then you guys can see the turn signal indicators. I threw on the hazard lights so you can see kind of what that looks like when it's actually active. And then coming down below, you can see we've got these projector bulbs with the LED accent lighting around it. Really distinctive appearance. And then notice we've got another Mercedes logo that's gigantic. And you guys can see this is where a camera would be, but because this has the bar, you don't have the camera there because it would just be looking at the bar here on the front, which again gives it this cool aggressive appearance. There's parking sensors here on the front end, and I love all of the venting here at the bottom as well. And you know, they kept to the previous G-Wagon styling, right, with the front end, but they also modernized it, and so just overall it looks fantastic. Now coming on the side here, we've got 295mm tires wrapped around 22-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. Now these are not the factory wheels. This is an aftermarket set. They're Vossen wheels, but let me tell you, they definitely work here on the G550. Now this particular G550 from the factory came with 18-inch wheels originally, which is the route to go if you want to put aftermarket wheels on your G550, right? Because those are the least expensive wheels you can get. Now, here's a quick look at the front suspension. And then you can see here with the reflector on the side right next to the turn signal indicator that says Mercedes-Benz on it. And notice here with the parking sensor down below, and then body painted here for the fender flares. We got our V8 badge, and then you can see the accenting that kind of breaks up a little bit but goes all along the side to the rear. And then here with these side steps as well. And then taking a few steps back, you can see the side profile here, again, looks pretty much identical to the previous version of the G-Wagon, so they kept all of the style cues. And if you don't believe me, here's a previous version of the G-Wagon, here's another previous version of the G-Wagon. So you can see, you know, it's modernized slightly, but still stays true to the G-Wagon brand. So here's our key fob. We have our unlock and then our lock. Notice the Mercedes logo there in the center portion. It's just really nice feeling key fob. Now here are the taillights. You can see, again, still in the normal G-Wagon fashion, but they just look quite a bit more modern. Now listen. Such a satisfying sound. You can see here we've got the quilted design here on the leather, and again, this is completely unnecessary to have leather here, but it's a G-Wagon, so I don't know, I love that. And you can see everything here is set up to actually open up. And look at this, nice vacuum lines on the carpeting right there. But here are the floor mats. We have a cargo cover here for the back to add to the practicality, and they even did lines. That's so cool. And then here's a quick look at the charging port right there. And other than that, storage space is great, and because the G-Wagon's so tall, like, you can fit really like tall things back here actually, which that's definitely nice. And then closing it, just wait for it. Ah, nice. Now let's finish things up here with the rear. We've got the spare tire carrier, which is so beautiful, Mercedes logo, and then you can see body painted to match on the front, and then you have the beautiful silver here off to the side. We've got parking sensors here along the bottom with the receiver hitch, and we have a recovery hook. And then here's a quick look at the rear suspension and shock. You guys can see that whole setup. It'll be very interesting to see how this drives with that setup. I know you guys are probably wondering about the exhaust at this point. You're like, where is the exhaust tip, Ben Hardy? Don't worry, I'll show you in a second. So here in the G550, they kind of hide the exhaust underneath. You can see I'm on the driver's side and where it dumps out, so it's hidden under there, and obviously that helps out with ground clearance as well, being here rather than being at the back, which is actually pretty cool. Now here's the door panel in the rear. You can see beautiful leather here with the stitching, and then notice the quilted design there in the center. We've got wood trim down below that. And just look how nice the door handle is. And then really nice feeling grab handle as well. Heated seats here for the rear passenger. You can see the window control just above. This has the Burmester sound system. And then here are the seats again, same beautiful leather. Notice it's perforated here in the center portion. And then we do have these side steps that help out with getting in and out. Notice how we've got this texture on it so that you don't slip on them, but they still have that nice chrome trim to kind of make them pop. And I love how that's illuminated as well. You can see the venting here in the back, but quickly pop in. So here is legroom and then headroom. You can see the vents here in the rear, and then we've got our own climate zone here for the rear passengers, and then cup holder armrest pulls out of that thing. The seatbelt's obviously blocking it. Here's what it looks like closed. You got the window in the rear. Definitely has this nice open feeling to it. Let's head to the front. Now here's the door panel at the front. You can see here again, same beautiful leather, and then you've got the quilted design down below, and then wood trim with all the silver trim. Same thing with the door handle. All of our seat adjustments are here on the side. We have heated and cooled seats. And then here's the window controls at the top. Blind spot monitoring for the mirror. And then here's the front seat. Just look how pillowy that headrest is. And then you can see here perforated. And just notice how like upright the seat is and just how high the seat is. It gives you a really solid seating position. Notice it's even on this little kind of like pedestal, which is pretty cool. Mercedes Benz right there. Look how beautiful the pedals are. And then even like the parking brake control, really nice metallic trim. We've got our light control up above, and then your lane keep parking sensors, and then notice the leather trim all around. Look at the speaker there off to the side. But let's pop in. Here's our steering wheel. You can see beautiful leather trim all around. You've got the stitching here in the center, which is dark to match the theme. And then you can see here with the beautiful metallic trim over all the controls for like the volume, voice commands, home screen button. And then we do have adaptive cruise control. Paddle shifters here on the back of the steering wheel. And we have our turn signal windshield wiper stalk. And then we've got our column shifter to select which gear you want to go into. And there's the steering wheel. Now here's the center gauge cluster. The controls for the center gauge cluster are on the left side of the steering wheel, if you guys are wondering. Now there's that little black square that you guys see on the steering wheel. This one right here, this is what actually controls the different functions on the steering wheel to go up or down. Pretty cool. It's just slide of your finger and it goes. And it's really easy to use overall. I love the resolution and design here of the center screen. I think it looks great. Now we do have some different drive modes we got to go into. So notice we got our sport, individual, and then on the other side we got our comfort, eco, and then desert, because again, this is an off-roading vehicle, so of course you're gonna have off-road modes, which yeah, overall is great. But that's everything for the center. Now here's the infotainment system. First off, I'm gonna pop it into reverse. You can see we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that do turn with the steering wheel. Notice how we have this parking sensor view as well. And notice we can change the different camera angles, and you don't have to click on it. Like most manufacturers make you click, you just have to slide the dial, and boom, it just goes to the different camera angles, which I really appreciate. I think that makes things a whole lot easier from a camera perspective. But moving from the camera to the infotainment system, now this is not a touchscreen. I'm just going to lightly touch just to show you guys. You control everything with a dial system. There's some shortcut buttons. I'll show you guys the system in just a moment, but there's also a keypad that you can use as well. So if you want to use the dial, you can use the dial. If you want to use the little keypad, you can use the keypad. Notice we have massaging seats, which is great. You can just pop that on, and you know what? I mean, think about this. This is like a, ex-military vehicle, and now it has massaging seats in it. I think that's pretty cool. But other than that, easy enough to use with the controls. Again, there's a bunch of shortcut buttons, and I'll show those to you, but I think they did a good job with the infotainment system. Notice the wood trim here, and then the leather, and it's all over, including on the grab handle. Look at this, wood trim and leather on a grab handle. And then you can see here with the vents on either side, I love how these are stylized as well, and it's really easy to just direct the airflow here with the vents. And notice here with the lockers, you got a bunch of different lockers here with the G Wagon, and that's another big benefit of the G Wagon, is the fact that you can lock the front, the center, and the rear. Most off-road vehicles nowadays just come with rear lockers, so this definitely has some capability already built in. And then we've got our climate controls down below. We do have a dual zone climate system, and then I love the clock there. And then we have this nice piece of wood trim that covers up little bit of storage space with some cup holders. And then this is the controls for the infotainment system. So you have the keypad that you can use. And notice you have a home button there, and then you have the dial if you want to use that, and again, home button. So they've like doubled down on the controls. And then you got your volume button, and then this is for like the camera right here. And then we do have low range as well. And you can see stability control. This is just to shift into manual. And then we've got our drive mode select, and then look at all the wood trim around that. And then here's the center console, which has tons of storage space. Really nice leather trim on that. You can see the leather continues all the way down. This is one of the key differences, and you guys probably can't see that very well, with this versus other cars, is even at the bottom portion, you're never going to look here, but they made sure that it has nice leather trim, so if you ever rest your leg up against it, then it'll feel nice and plush. And then here's the glove box, which the glove box also is covered in leather trim. And you can see how the controls there for the passenger side on the side of the door. So up top here first, we have a sunroof, and then notice the headliner definitely brings things up from an interior perspective when you have a headliner that nice. And I love this for the sound system. That looks so cool with how they've stylized it. And then got a traditional mirror right here, and that's all for the top. But notice how like the windshield's like just straight up in normal G-Wagon fashion. So if you want the most up-to-date pricing on this particular G550, then check out the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington's website in the description down below. Let's take it out and see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood. It's so cool to see a G-Wagon hood. Both the mirrors do have blind spot monitoring. Then throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off. So setting off in the G550. Now this is, and you hear that lock function, by the way, that sounds so good as well. I'll give you guys another one of those. Just listen. That's such a good sound. Anyways, this is the first time I've driven the new body style G-Wagon. I've driven several old body style G-Wagons. I've even reviewed a G550 with the new body style, but I wasn't able to drive it, sadly. And so, first off, I really appreciate Farmington for trusting me with this. But secondly, I'm so excited to see how this finally drives, because I've heard so many things about the new G-Wagon, and I just want to see if it's true, right? First off, seat comfort's great in the G-Wagon, and seating position's also great. Mercedes has just nailed it. Like, you really do get this king of the road feel with the seating position, because you just sit so high up. If you guys have ever sat in like a Jeep Wrangler, this kind of gives you a similar feel to where you're just like elevated above everything. And I really like the feeling of this seating position. But unlike a Wrangler, the seats massage you, and they're actually comfortable, which is a big plus. So getting up and moving a little bit more here with the G-Wagon. Now, I picked this particular route because we've got some twisties, and so whenever I test Mercedes up here, we can actually see the handling on the vehicles. Steering's really good on this. Like, I was expecting the steering, because again, you know, I'm used to driving off-road vehicles that just have really vague steering, and this is actually, I mean, for what this is, it's direct, it's light, and we're not even in the sport mode. So we'll actually pop it into the sport mode. Oops, sport mode, there we go. So we'll pop it into the sport mode and see if that changes anything. Also, ride quality is very smooth. This feels like a luxury car. Like, it's just 100% feels like a luxury car. There is no hiding that. So that is another big plus. Now this is the turnaround that we are going to be using. Now the reason I picked this is because I can just drive through, and it'll allow us to get an acceleration too, which is pretty cool. Thank you, Random Amusement Park, for having this. I want to kind of hear the exhaust a little bit here. And the cabin's really well insulated. I saw some reviews that said that there's a lot of wind noise here with the G-Wagon. I'm not really getting that. Let's see how it accelerates. Wow. How is that only 400 something horsepower? Wow, this feels really quick. That's impressive. And the gear shifts are so smooth. That's really impressive. Okay, so I am extremely impressed here with the new G Wagon. You know, again, like I said, coming into this review, this is what I heard. Tons of wind noise. It's still a G Wagon. And leaving this review, here's what I have to say. First off, rides like a luxury car. It still looks like a G Wagon. It still makes all the cool G Wagon sounds with the doors and the rear hatch. And then it's quick on top of that. Wind noise, really, like, I have a Jeep Wrangler, okay? And I've got like the top insulation and everything. This does not have that level of wind noise, okay? This is like super well insulated, full on luxury car from an insulation perspective. And so, yeah, I mean, you know what? I understand, like, the G Wagon is still like the ultimate SUV is the way that I look at it, because it's got the cool off-road, like, army aesthetic to it, right? Especially in this green paint. But then it's got tons of luxury, and so it's like you could literally take this like anywhere on the planet and it'll be able to handle it from an off-road perspective, which is cool, just having that thought. But then this would be such a good daily commuter, and now I understand the hype, and I understand why there are dealerships that are able to charge like $200,000 over sticker for these things in today's market, because like this is solid. I'm impressed. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this G550 G Wagon. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Mercedes-Benz of Farmington for giving me some time with this G Wagon. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see all of you in the next video.